And good afternoon, everybody. We are here at the Thunderhill Raceway Park, just north of Sacramento, California. My name is John Lindsay. I'm accompanied by Edwin Pardue. Edwin, how do you find it here?
I tell you what, just, beautiful places. We came to this, we're coming up the 5 there, and I'm like, I was asking Herb, one of the guys that's going to be doing a bunch of the still photography for us this week. I said, gosh, it doesn't look like there's going to, a lot of elevation change. He goes, hold on, we have to head west off the interstate a little bit. And you start coming into these rolling hills, and it's just absolutely beautiful as you get in here. Able to watch kind of that final practice session before they go to qualify later, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And, first thing you told me is you point out a couple corners. As we get into racing, watch here, and watch here, because there's a couple really unique spots here on the course.
Yeah, and what you're seeing right now is a shot of the front straightaway leading into turn 1, and you can see we have a safety vehicle out there. What we've been doing today so far is just open practice for all the teams where they are working things out, but we do have a big hitch coming in. We have a very large storm referred to as an atmospheric river up here, and it is starting to come in. As you can see, as we go around the course, we will be getting some moist conditions around the track on different cameras right now, so we'll be fighting a little bit of that, and it's supposed to be fairly windy tonight as well.
You look down the list, out of Portland, Phoenix, Arizona, Chicago, Maryland, Washington, Nevada. You would expect a couple teams out of Illinois, so you would expect something like this. And again, there was a story that went out on, I think it was out on the NASA website a while back, talking about how teams will prepare all season long to get ready for this one event as they do it. And because it's so different, John, than when you and I were together last. We were at the NASA championships. This is a totally different, some of the same cars, some of the same people, but a totally different event.
It's a beast. This is a unique beast in the whole world of motorsports where, we're in Northern California in December, and only fools and tourists predict the weather up here. And so that's always a challenge you have to deal with. And then just making a car last for 25 hours is a challenge all in itself. Then you have driver issues. We sometimes will have teams where a driver will go down with the flu or exhaustion or something like that. So this is a big beast of a race, and it's going to be very interesting this year. A lot of really interesting drivers we can talk about later. Teams coming from all over the world, actually, and people flying in from everywhere. We have a team that came from Spa out in Belgium, I believe it is, and they're here to join us for the race. So it's an amazing race, and it's really something unique and special that evolved. This is the 17th running of the 25. I can't believe it. I've only missed one out of all those 17 years, and it is just an amazing, amazing feat to be able to survive the 25.
John, you look at here and you see a shot of the front straightaway. Looks like a situation. Now, we're going to get soaked in a little bit, it looks like. But there also, as we go through the weekend, there looks like also the way the lay of the land is, there's going to be some areas as we dry out. This is still real wet. This is starting to dry out just because of the layout of the racetrack. Again, different parts of the course are going to be very different offerings for the drivers.
Right, and there's a lot of discussion. So we have a new class this year called E3S, and that's basically for our spec classes like Spec Miata, Spec E30, and they're required to run tires that fortunately are very good in the rain, and different things can happen there. But a lot of these teams came here like the big dogs, the ES, which is the really fast sedans, and ESR. They normally run on slick tires, so they're having to get those carved and shaped with rain grooves, because we're supposed to have rain starting tonight all the way basically through Saturday, and then maybe some drying out on Sunday.
Well, and again, that key period then will be when it gets dark Saturday night until the sun comes up Sunday morning. If there was a time that you don't want to be out here driving in the wet, that would be it. The other unique thing, and you see a shot. So there's a shot coming off of turn 5. Don't see any track lighting, do you, John?
No, not at all. So the track out there is dark. There are markers that have been placed on the edge of the course in certain strategic spots. You can see them. See little markers there, in the different turns, but it's very dark out there, and it gets dark out here at night. So it will definitely be a factor there, and you can't see. And the thing, I'll tell you, the thing that's got me worried the most is if it rains and then in the morning on Sunday it starts to dry out a little bit, and that the ground still has all that moisture built up, and then what we get is zombie fog, because out here we call it Thule fog, and boy, that can stop us dead in our tracks. So we'll hope for that not showing up. We'll hope for a little bit of wind to blow it out, and hopefully that will be the end of the storm on Sunday when that'll be blowing out all the fog.
John, the drivers who are new, they were here yesterday, they're here for the first time. What is it that they want to pick up and learn? Again, a little bit different than an all-out sprint race for an endurance race, but what's the thing they need to learn and what takes them by surprise when they first get here?
Oh, I tell you, this track, the first time I went around it, I went off in 4 different spots. I pushed off at turn 2, cut the grass with my splitter very nicely. I went off at 5 again, and I went off at 9 because turn 9, if you look at turn 9, on the entrance, it looks one way. And so the turn 9 entrance, it looks fairly conservative and all that. But now look at this end of turn 9. This is the exit of turn 9. Watch this car come over. You can't see anything when you go up over turn 9, and you're just kind of guessing where the track is going to be your first couple of laps. And I went off big time at turn 9.
And it changes again also when it goes to dark.
Right.
It looks different. Where you're picking up your points are going to look different as you go through the night. And again, like I said, we add in the rain. You've got a whole different piece. And then the other thing about endurance racing is that disparity in speeds, where you're catching cars and where you're passing. How important is that? And are there good spots to make those passes here? A lot of nice straightaway spots. Where do the guys want? Do they have to be super patient, or do they have a couple opportunities each lap to work through traffic?
Well, and it's a 25-hour race. So the best places to pass are the back straight and the front straight. Those are the absolute best places, because otherwise you're going to be working in through a turn and traffic and other things. And there's a speed delta here where the ESR and ES cars are super fast, and they'll be coming up on, you have like the Audi R8 coming up on the Miata. That's a big speed differential, so it's key for the fast drivers to be super patient, and for the drivers in some of the higher lap time classes, for them to be very, very consistent, because you don't want to change your line in the middle of the corner when they're expecting you to do one thing and all of a sudden you juke over to give them more room, and it turns out that's where they're sitting because they thought you'd do the same thing as you did the lap before.
And, we always hope with these broadcasts, we know that a lot of the crews sitting out here in the paddock are watching. We know that, folks who are back home who couldn't make it. But the other idea, John, is always to get folks who have never been to a race be able to tune in and take a look at it. So what we'll do also is try to explain some of that, because you will see at the same time on the racetrack a wide variety of racing vehicles. And as we go through the weekend, try to explain the different classes, and you will see, like I say, a disparity in speeds and cornering, and because they're very different cars.
Well, and if you notice, there's a lot of, if you look at the entry list and look at some of the teams, there's a lot of open cockpit cars. Now, when it's nice out, that's no big deal. But when it's like this, imagine having an open cockpit car. Everything in that car is going to get soaked. So probably, 15 years ago, I was here working, and there was a Spec Racer Ford, great little car, and they were out racing in sleet and rain. And I was working in the hot pit, and pretty quick they came in, and the driver couldn't get out of the car because the thing had filled up with water, and he was in freezing water, and he couldn't move his lower extremities, so they pulled him out, and then they got a drill and drilled holes in the bottom of the car, and all the water drained out. But it's going to be hairy for the open cockpit teams.
Let's talk about qualifying sessions. You don't spend a lot of time setting your car up to do one fast lap. It's a 25-hour race. A big part of it is just knowing what you have, a little bit of bragging rights, but you really don't put a lot of effort into clicking off of 1 or 2 fast laps here, do you?
Very true. I mean, right now, the thing that has to be ringing through every driver's head as they're out here is 25 hours. 25 hours. Don't blow it up in the first corner. Don't blow it up at hour 6. Or, you need to be in it to win it for the long form, and so you really have to be careful and mindful that you're not going out and blowing up the car in the early stages, because it's a long race.
I might mention this again when we get deeper into the weekend. On my flight out here today, I flew next to a young lady. She was coming out to run in Sacramento this weekend. Is a marathon.
Oh.
She was coming out to run. It was going to be her second marathon. And
California
she said,
International Marathon.
Yeah, and she's like, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm going to cover sort of a marathon as well. And we had this wonderful conversation comparing the two. So what she does in her marathon is through different miles. The first 8 miles, I'm running to this mile,
right.
Minutes per mile.
Exactly.
And this type of racing this weekend, are you looking, do you come in and said, hey, we want to run a X lap for most of the race and stay with it? In other words, are you racing to a time, or are you racing with that car that's in front or behind you?
Well, and it all depends on the strategy that the crew chief sets, or if you have a strategist, what they're saying. Because sometimes, and it all is going to depend on where your competitors in your class are. If you got 30 laps on the other guys, you want to take it easy, because you don't want to go out there and roast a wheel bearing or something else trying to run fast laps when you've got a nice piece of cover in case something goes wrong. We've had teams blow up engines and be 80 laps in front of their nearest competitor, and that 80 laps keeps chipping away over time as they're pulling the engine. But usually everybody who's out here is bringing engines, transmissions. You'd never want to bring an E46 chassis BMW here as your street car. You never want to bring a Miata, because there's a good chance that someone's going to find that car.
Typically, how many drivers per team?
Usually 4 or 5. 4 or 5. Somewhere in there. But we've had some crazy guys that did it on their own. We've had, folks over the years have done it on their own occasionally and been successful. But hey, we also have our usual feature in our NASA broadcast team. We've got both Neil Daly and Will Falls out there. We're going to hear from Neil here in a minute. Looks like he's with one of the teams. So, Neil, what you got for us?
We're here with Paul, running a BMW 1 Series in E2. I've been watching a lot of your guys' preparation leading up to this on social media. You guys have your pit crew down. I think I've got money on you having one of the fastest pit stops here for E2. Tell me about how it's going.
Pit stops for E2 are probably going to be the TAPG guys. They're really good. So, you got to talk to those guys about that. But things are going great.
And that's the Toyota team with the...
They're not a factory team, but they work at the factory. The car stays at the factory. And they all drive Toyotas, but they're not a factory team.
We'll track down them in a couple minutes. They do run a really, really good show. Last year, unfortunately, got put out.
All really, really nice guys. And we like those guys.
They got put out a little early due to a bad engine, but they're coming back with some vengeance this year.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
So tell me about your team and the drivers you guys made up.
So our idea, Rob and I, is that we always want to have the best people on our team to work with. And along those lines, we ended up partnering with Shift Up Now and working with some really talented racers from Shift Up Now. And so we've got a team of 3 Shift Up Now drivers and 2 HQ drivers.
Is Shift Up Now, are they all lady drivers?
They are lady drivers. They're an organization that helps women in racing kind of move to the next level and really make more opportunity for lady drivers. And so, the thing for us is we just want fast drivers, and it just so happened they are from Shift Up Now. And so, we like working with them. They're great to work with. We feel like we've got a really good energy around the team, and everyone's really getting along well and enjoying this event. And we're excited for this team and what we're gonna do this weekend. So,
awesome.
As a matter of fact, Sarah Montgomery, who races in the MX5 Cup, she's actually going to be qualifying for us tonight. So we're real excited for that. When she's going to go out.
What are your thoughts about this rain coming in on us for qualifying?
We got to just take the weather. Whatever they give us, we got to take. So we show up with a car that is ready for whatever circumstances come. And so we're running rain tires right now. And we built the car to drive in the rain. So we have AC in the car and heat in the car. And
luxury.
Yeah. Well, you know what? As someone who spends a lot of time around cars, the best way to keep the windscreen clean on these things with the windows open all night long is with the OEM stuff, because no one's going to do it better than, BMW or Honda or whatever you're running, right? Adding your own kind of makeshift fan is kind of neat and cool and MacGyverish, but it doesn't necessarily make it make it for a clean windshield in the middle of the night.
I do remember a couple of years ago, you and I trying to figure out something involving a propane heater, and we had all kinds of ideas.
I remember we walked through Walmart looking at everything that they had that made heat and wondering if we could put it in a car and make it work. Which is not a good strategy so much as it was like a survival strategy, You
guys showed up way more prepared this year. I'm really, really excited to watch this race. We'll be checking in with Team HQ Autosport in their white BMW 1 Series for the next couple days.
Thanks, Neil.
Thanks, Paul. I always got to break the ice with something.
We're here in the Toyo Tires TFB AIM Tires tent. Tim Barber here doing some work on some tires with some weather in the forecast. You can see here there's all types of different types of Toyo tires. We have our regular Toyo RR that has a ton of rubber with minimal grooves on it for maximum traction in the dry. And then here we have an interim chevron grooves added to the radial grooves that come in the tire. That's a really good intermediate tire. And here we can actually see Tim Barber himself grooving a tire that's going to end up being a full wet. So in addition to the chevrons, this is a little bit of a different tire. This is the RS1, which is a full Toyo slick. And what they're doing is adding some radial grooves as well as some chevron grooves for maximum wet grip. With some wet forecast, they're grooving a lot of tires here. Tim, what can you tell us? Can you add anything to that?
I just know a lot of guys, we're going to mount these up. They're going to grab them in and then take them right back off just so that if it's wet during the race, they don't have to go out on a non-scrubbed tire because they're slick when they come out of the mold just to break it open. So kind of getting ahead of the curve here. Hopefully it'll slow down because I've carved a lot of these and I'd like to stop.
Tim told us just a minute ago he's grooved well over 100 tires for this event. And here they have mounted and balanced well over 1,000 Toyo tires for this event. So just a cool bit of technical info preparing for a potentially wet weekend with some mixed conditions. And we'll check in shortly here, guys. Back to you guys in the booth.
Shannon L. with Thunderhill. Do you have a copy?
I'm here with Ed Sukai and Mickey Miller with Team Bullet Performance. You guys are running an E1
E1.
in your BMW E90.
Yes, sir. 2006 E90.
And this is Ed Sukai's first 25-hour race.
Virgin.
But you're not new to endurance racing.
Let me blame two people. I have to blame him, Mickey, and Neil for talking me into this. Thank you very much. It's all your fault.
That's fair.
Ask
This
Mickey
racing
how long
thing-
he's been doing this.
Mickey, how long you been doing this? How many 25 hours you got under you?
I've done 15 so far. This will be number 16. 16. The last 2 years off. Ralph wanted to get the old team back together, Ralph Warren. So here we are. We planned this about 5 months ago, and we've been working pretty hard on it. I think we got a nice, reliable car. Last time we ran this car, we did win the class, and I'd like to do it again this year. Knock on wood.
That's excellent, man. That's a lot of 25-hour races to have under your belt.
It's a lot of racing after 20-something years. So, we got hooked in this in 2001, and I haven't looked back. What's so much fun about it is the challenge of not just the race, but the whole team working together to just keep everything going, and all the work that we did on this car to make this happen. I'm excited. Stressed at the same time. The last few weeks have been kind of stressful. We had some problems about 3 weeks ago on a test day, but thank God that's what a test day is for. But it seems like we got it all worked out.
Right on. And you've driven this car before, too.
Yeah, I
right?
love the car. Pretty much driven it one enduro, a couple of test events, and it's a fantastic car. It's not like the E30s we drive, Neil. This thing actually stops and turns when you ask it to. But I'd also, before I finish here, I'd like to say big thanks to Mickey and Neil. These guys got me hooked on this shit, and I love it. I love Neil. Got me into
I love you too,
E30s.
buddy.
Man,
You're having a lot of fun in that Spec E30 class.
I
I forgot
dragged Mickey into it too. So, Neil, thank
Here
you,
we
man.
are
Thank
racing
you.
fancy
Love
cars.
you.
We appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Thanks for the interview, guys. We'll be back. We're going to go check out the next E1 Honda CRX after this. Same class.
Fantastic. Let's make
That
it a
should
good
be really
weekend,
fun to
guys.
watch. Yep.
Thanks.
Have fun.
That's a wrap.
Back to you, John.
think about in the other events and make the car drivable. And they had a couple issues in practice. I think they're all set now, but they even brought the backup car to sit down there in the paddock if they had some real issues pre-race. He said, hey, you tow a car from Maryland to Northern California to race, we want to be sure we had a backup. So they brought the backup. But I believe right now it is the primary car. Again, that's John Hotz out of Sparks, Maryland. And that'll be a 4-driver team. So John and 3 others in that car. So we'll take a look at them. And they're out on track right now. But they brought, you talk about bringing extra parts, they just brought an extra car.
Well, and that's not uncommon. I mean, it almost, sometimes it looks like a golf match where you're taking different clubs out of the bag. Transporter rolls up and it'll spit out 5 Miatas. They're only driving 2 of them.
Right.
The other 2 go up on jack stands and they wait. It's kind of the sacrifice, like the old Indiana Jones scene where, oh, Num Shavai, oh, Num Shavai.
All the parts are already, bolts are all loose,
ready.
so
Everything's loose. It's ready to go.
go.
And then they, you see this carcass. It's like being at Thanksgiving, and there's just a Miata carcass left at the end of the race. So it's pretty fun to watch.
You see they're still looking off to the east. That's where you see the sunshine. It's what I call one of those reverse sunsets, because there's some clearing to the east there. But again, as we come around the track, you'll see more of it. But John, it did not roll through here quite yet like we thought it was going to, which just means it's coming. It's just coming a little bit later.
Right. And so I've been watching the weather, and we do have a big mountain range in between us and the coast here, out towards I think it's Elk Creek, kind of that area. There's a big mountain range that's just off to the east of us, and that's kind of holding a bit of the heavier stuff off, but it'll start coming down here anytime. So one thing, Edwin, we haven't talked about is we have a real treat. We have the brand new 2020 GR Supra as our pace car this weekend. Very cool that it's here, and we're super honored to have that car here joining us for the whole race. It'll be our pace car tomorrow, and NASA has a great program right now going where the Supra is going around the country and hitting different NASA events for different things. And get this, every single Supra owner that buys a new Supra, they get a NASA membership and a free track day. Not too shabby.
I might do some car shopping.
Absolutely, yeah. The car's here. It's absolutely stunningly beautiful. So you'll see that out at different points during the day. Of course, a big thank you for Toyota to bring that car out for us to use. That's totally awesome, and should have some conditions that'll challenge it a little bit in the early stages of the race tomorrow.
John, we talked about how at the championship that winning this weekend or success this weekend for different teams means different things. For some teams, if they are not on the podium when the weekend is done, that weekend is considered a failure. Some other teams, it's a success. They just made it here.
Right.
And others of them, it's we just want to have a great weekend and be running at the end. So different levels of success. Well, folks are kind of determining what success will be. They're working down in the paddock, and I believe Neil has caught up with another team. So let's go down to the paddock and check in with Neil here at Thunderhill.
We're here with Spencer, and you'll have to say your last name again.
Trenery
with Team Fleur in one of these cool.
Yeah, that's right. It's a tube-frame car with a 2-liter Renault power plant and a sequential dog box and a spool rear end.
And if I remember correctly, these cars are so light, you guys can run like a 200 treadwear tire or something like that.
That's right. Yeah, it's, I think, prescribed in the spec rules to run a 200 treadwear DOT legal tire, which fits the car well. It's 1,900 pounds. It doesn't have a whole lot of horsepower, but you don't burn the tires off it. And for a club racing event of this caliber, it really does behoove the teams to have a set of rules like this where it can be affordable for everyone.
Yeah, and I think if I remember from last year, you guys are lucky to need to swap tires at all over a 25-hour time. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I think they use 10 tires in 25 hours per car, and so that's appealing to those concerned with a budget.
And tell me about some of the preparation you guys have done on the way here.
So this summer, the car came apart and went back together, a lot of fresh componentry. They've been chasing a vibration, which has taken a lot of attention away from final race prep. So the vibration is remedied, but we're dealing with a few loose ends here. We got a regulator that we had to deal with this morning. It looks like we're putting a diff in it tonight, which is better than tomorrow night. And we've got a couple other little nuance issues that we're resolving. But they went up and did the Cascade 8 Hours of Portland as a test race, got some weather there, had the opportunity to run the car in the weather. The spool rear end, it's basically locked up, and so it's kind of like driving a shifter cart without any horsepower. So a lot of understeer in wet conditions, but we hope for the best.
That's awesome. So, and this is also the only EXR here this year.
Yeah, that's too bad, because if another was here and it didn't finish, we could cannibalize it for parts, but hopefully we won't need any.
That was kind of last year's thing. If you the EXRs needed a couple extra body panels. Did you guys bring any spares of those?
Yeah, we've got a spare splitter. I think they've got a nose and a tail. Anything you have a spare part for, we won't need, so hopefully.
Right on, man. Well, yeah, I wish you guys so much luck. You're in E1, right?
E1 is
saw
a
that.
great
That's cool.
class for the car, and I think it's it's appropriately classed there. Our lap times are consistent with the other cars at the front. We just have a little bit more of a model airplane than a production car. The production cars, have been through a lot of factory testing and development, and they've worked out a lot of the kinks and weak loose ends. And so I think here you have a crafted car by an aftermarket manufacturer. You're always doing a little bit of research and development anytime you race those.
Well, this is going to be super fun. We just interviewed the guys in the E90 BMW,
Yep,
which
they're
is
gonna
like
be
a
quick.
really capable, nice race car. Next to them is a 90s CRX that's in your class. Sure. And then we have the Bitchet EXR. This should be a pretty awesome and fun class to watch.
Yeah, thanks to NASA for making everybody a place to run.
Yeah, of course. Well, thanks, man. You guys have a great race.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Thanks, man. That
You're
was
welcome.
great.
All right, folks, that was Neil Daly down there talking to Spencer Trenery in a really cool-looking car. As you can see right now, there's I think that's Mr. Donnie Edwards out there with his big hammer. So Donnie's out there working hard and trying to get some of those reflectors that may have gotten wiped out earlier. Again, this is a 25 Hours of Thunderhill presented by Hawk Performance. We're at Thunderhill Raceway, about 90 miles or so north of Sacramento, California, in beautiful Glenn County.
You look at that shot right there and you go, okay, we're watching a guy put some reflectors back in the ground. Do you realize at 3 a.m. Sunday morning, some of those are not going to be where they are right now, and how important that is?
They'll be gone by 6:30.
6:30, yeah.
p.m.
Right. And then again, you're using that, especially overnight, to pick up your marks. You come into that corner, somebody the lap before just took him out, and it changes. So it's we're like, why aren't we showing the guy banging the reflectors back in? Because that's going to be a huge important part of where drivers are picking their lines once things get dark a little bit later tonight. Well, let's go back. No, I'm sorry, John, go ahead.
Looks like Will Falls has someone lined up for us. Will's down there with Valkyrie Autosport, I believe. Will, what you got for us?
I'm here with Brian Locke, team principal of Valkyrie Autosport. He has 2 ES entries here, Nismo 370Z GT and Nissan GTR. Brian, longtime participant in this race. Finally have your dream of having 2 ES cars. Tell us about how the prep and testing and season's gone in these cars, and a little bit about what you're expecting for this race.
Yeah, the prep's been it's been a long 5 years on the 370Z. It's been a long 2, and then it's been a long. How long has this event been going now? 17 years since I did the first event here in a '87 CRX with 90 horsepower, getting passed by Porsche GT3 Cups, and I knew one day I wanted to be in one of those cars competing for overall. So yeah, a lot of heartache to get to this point, but we're here.
Tell us about the expectations of running a team with 2 cars that are competing for the overall, but at the same time competing against each other. What's that dynamic like in this tent?
The cars make speed in different ways. They are going to be a little bit different fuel strategies. I feel like we're not going to be running into each other a lot on track, hopefully. Dry or wet, they're going to make their lap times in different ways. So I don't see a big issue there.
Very cool. One thing for this weekend is that there's very mixed conditions, and there's a gentleman driving on this team that people love hearing about driving advice from. Ross Bentley driving in the GTR. Ross, talk to us about your expectations and your mindset in a car in a race like this, knowing that we're going to have some mixed conditions.
Just fun. I think that's the biggest thing. Most people go into a wet race and they're worried. And I just go into it, and I know Steven and Brad and Tom, we're just going into this we're just going to have fun. And I think when you go in that way, you're more relaxed and you feel the car. And, this is all like a long races like this. It's about minimizing mistakes and then recover. How quickly can you recover from them? Brian and these guys this is an awesome team. It's amazing. It's really cool to be running with Valkyrie, and I know that hopefully we don't mess up on the track, but if we do, these guys have got our backs and everything. But yeah, we're just going to go and have fun, be smooth, be smart. That's how we're going to get a good result.
Smooth, smart, having fun from Ross Bentley himself. Stephen Thomas, new to the Valkyrie team and your first 25-hour ever. Have you raced at night before?
I have raced at night this year. I actually drove a race car for the first time last December, so I haven't been racing quite a year, but I've been in intensified training with Ross, and we drove a night race at Sebring. So I came here with my buddies Tom and Brad. We're Rogue Racing, and we're going to give this 25-hour a shot.
Very cool. Talk to us about this GTR. What's it been like getting used to the 25-hour, getting up to pace and mixed conditions?
It's a lot of power in this car, so when you put your foot down, it goes, and you got to be ready for it, more than like the club racing we do. This is a real car, and it has some arrows, so it sticks to the ground a little bit. In the mixed conditions, you got to be easy with the throttle coming out of the corners. This thing, it's a beast. It'll come out of there and get a little loose on you. So you got to be willing to slide the car if you want to go fast.
And you got one of the best coaches there is to help you get up to speed. So best of luck to you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Team Valkyrie going for the overall in 2 ES cars, mixed conditions, very different cars dynamically. We'll see how they do. Back to you guys in the booth.
Well, and you got to feel great when you go into a weekend, John, and you look there in your paddock area and you've got Ross Bentley on your team. That's going to give you a little confidence going into the weekend.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby at all. We've talked a little bit about some of the classes. You've seen when the guys are down on the pits, you see the class marked there. Let's talk a little bit about some of the classes here and how they're classed, John, at this particular event this weekend. Start with the E1. We saw the car just a minute ago, the E1, and go from there. How are the cars classed this weekend?
Right. So if you notice, there's ES, ESR, E0 through 3, and then E3S. So ES is the Supermondo Fast Unlimited sedan type cars. That's going to be the Audi R8. I believe we had a Mustang that was in that class. Different things that are real fast with a closed roof. Now, ESR is for a similar car, but with an open cockpit. So SR standing for kind of spec racer, but or sports racer, actually, not spec racer. So ES and ESR will be our two fastest classes. That's attention every year. Last year, the winner was, Porsche 911s have been just almost undefeatable here. So last year was a 911 RSR, 749 laps over 25 hours, which is almost driving from here to Maryland almost. So lots of miles, lots of laps, but it's always attention there because the sports racers go real fast, but they don't survive bumps as well, and they also tend to have more fragile power plants. So it's always a little bit of a balancing act. Then from ES, you go to E0. That's real fast as well. So those are cars that are a little bit slower than the E1 cars or the ES cars, and then it's down in speed, E0 through E3, and then E3 is the E3S, which is Spec Miata, Spec E30, and some of our spec classes.
And we'll talk more about that as we go through the weekend. So we just talked about the ESR. Let's get a little bit more detail from one of the ESR teams, and let's go to Neil. He's down there in the paddock area. Neil, take it away.
5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, yeah. I'm here again with Henry and Mike with Team Fast Toys Club by
Alexander Prema, who is one of the managing team members here. He has experience with Team Penske and V8 supercars, and he actually just won the 1,000 kilometers of Bathurst this year. He is a hugely...
What kind of car are you guys driving?
We are driving a Pescarello. It's basically set up as an LMP3 car right now.
Awesome. Yeah, it's one of those, looks pretty fancy. I was admiring the way that you guys lift the car with a pallet jack. I think that's very amateur racing style. I love it.
Well, we have a mix, everyone on the team, and it's for sure an awesome car. Very lightweight, carbon fiber tub, and it has a LS3, Corvette motor in the back. So powerful, very light. It's a real joy to drive. It's the fastest in, green flag racing conditions. So I'm super happy to be racing this car.
And I understand you have quite a history in racing and championships.
I've been racing my whole life, pretty much. My first motorcycle race was when I was 5. Wow. And I switched to 4 wheels when I was 9. Raced go-karts for a while. As of now, I have 12 go-karting championships, one of them national, and also won a national championship with a Midget car, which is back further in the garage. They have a sprint series for that I won in 2017.
Oh, right on.
And I actually ran that car in 25 hours in 2017 too. We got second in EO. So
Awesome.
this is a step up from that, for sure.
Yeah, those cars are always super fun to watch. And I guess this could be just like a really big go-kart, so.
Yeah, I was thinking about it yesterday over dinner about the most comparable vehicle I've driven to this. And really, I couldn't think of much else besides a go-kart. Just given how the weight transfers, how it deals when the rear starts to come around, it really feels like a go-kart.
Awesome. And what kind of preparation have you guys been doing before the race, getting here, and all that good stuff?
Just trying to stay fit as much as we can, and doing some tests out here at Thunderhill, and just trying to stay ahead of the curve. Unfortunately, the rain kind of threw a curveball at it, but we're long haul, so we're here for 25 hours. We'll deal with it.
Yeah, I think I heard one of the other drivers getting in the car because he hasn't driven it in the rain. So yeah, that would be some curveballs that are thrown.
Absolutely.
Luckily, they're thrown at everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we're set up right now for the rain too, so we've got traction control, so we'll be okay.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
We have traction control. We don't have a roof, but traction control also helps.
All right. Well, yeah, hopefully you do get some breaks from the rain, so you're not just sitting in that puddle of water.
Yeah, we'll see.
We have a steering wheel heater too, so yeah, we're good.
Oh man, we can end on that, I guess. No. Well, thank you guys so much. Really look forward to watching you guys start this race and finish it. Team Fast Toys Club, beautiful car to watch, and it'll be super fun.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, folks, that was the Fast Toys Club team. Again, Fast Toys Club is a exotic race car club in California here, and they offer membership plans for enthusiasts to drive race cars during track days or racing series. So check out the Fast Toys Club, and we'll be watching them in that super awesome Pescarolo, straight from Le Mans. That's a really, really serious car that they've got there.
ESR, going to be open cockpit. You heard talk about that. Although I did like the fact they have the steering wheel heater on there. So
that's plush.
That's plush. So as folks are looking and we get into the race tomorrow, so that would be one of the cars that you could look going for an overall win. As we get into the weekend. That's one of the two classes that'll be battling for that overall, and then battling amongst themselves within class. So we'll look at some more of those ESR cars, and we'll talk about who's in those different classes. But that was great timing there of Neil to get with those guys just as you were explaining that class, and then follow it up with those guys to talk a little bit more about that particular race car.
Almost like we planned it.
Almost like we planned.
But rest assured, we didn't plan that.
That was all in the production meeting that I was late to.
Yeah, sure. But so you can see right now, there's our good man, Donnie Edwards, a longtime NASA bro. He's one of our longtime guys, good friend of ours. So Donnie's out there checking the track and making sure everything is up to his exacting specifications. So we are getting ready. Of course, qualifying is coming up. It'll be a 30-minute session from 5:15 Pacific to 5:45 Pacific. So we will have an open practice beginning here in a little bit where people can still go out and turn laps that are not counted. But the clock turns on at 5:45, and we'll have 30 minutes. Again, you want to get a good position, but you don't want to wad the car up in qualifying.
You hear people say this on TV broadcasts all the time, but please take my word for it. That picture that you're seeing on your screen right now is a lot brighter than it is actually on the race
it's dark.
car. I mean, on the racetrack, I should say. That camera, they kind of open up the lens and can really, really make it a lot brighter than it seems. Well, let's go now. We're going to find out a little bit about one of the GT Challenge cars. Let's go down there. Will is in the paddock area. Will, take it away from the paddock area.
I'm here with Ross Thompson at the Flying Lizard Motorsport compound. Ross is a reigning national champion from Mid-Ohio this year, back driving with Flying Lizard in the Audi GT Challenge. And tell us about what your expectations are here, national champ representing for the defending champs. What's the scoop?
It's an honor to be driving for Flying Lizard, number one. The second thing is just turning the car over in one piece to my co-drivers. It's going to rain probably most of the the 25-hour duration. So we just need to make sure that all 4 tires are round and we keep the fenders on the car and just put our laps in.
Now, everybody is itching at home to know, does a GT Challenge car have what it takes to defend an overall victory here?
Anything's possible in this 25. I mean, anything's possible. We do have traction control and ABS, which would be really, really helpful in the wet. And I don't think most of the cars have that, so I think that's an advantage for us. We need some of the prototypes to break, and we just need to keep clicking laps off to have a shot at it.
Awesome, man. Ross Thompson, Flying Lizard Motorsport, cautiously optimistic. 25 hours of racing. Back to you guys. See you in a bit.
Thank you so much, Will. We appreciate it. That Flying Lizard logo you see on that car, if you watch a lot of road racing motorsports on TV, that is a logo and an emblem that you know well. We were going through all of the classes. That's the next we're going to talk about, GT Challenge. Give us a quick piece on GT Challenge.
So the GT Challenge, I believe those are all the GT4 spec cars from the FIA GT4 spec. So that's become very popular with the great work that SRO and World Challenge are doing, bringing in some of the FIA classes to the States here. So that is a really cool car, and the Lizards have won here a whole lot. So that is a very awesome and formidable team. We're starting to see that everything is getting really out our window. We can't see a darn thing. So it's pretty dark out there. I mean, the camera's lightening it up a little bit, but it is proper dark.
Proper dark. I like proper dark. Now, and this is great. I don't know, did the guys who came and tested a little bit yesterday, did they get any nighttime driving yesterday, John, or is this the first time they've seen it full dark?
I don't believe they did, because I know there were practice sessions going on, but I'm not exactly sure when those were. So they may have gotten a little bit of it, and it looks like, man, that mountain range is still holding off the really rough stuff. So maybe we'll get away with qualifying without it being totally soggy, but yeah, we're going to get some big winds and some big weather here tonight. Hopefully most of that will have blown out by the time we get racing tomorrow, but it is going to be a challenging set of conditions all 25 hours long.
And this is just beautiful now as a car. Yeah,
looks like in turn 1 we may have a stall. So if we can look at turn 1 right there, that's the first corner. Let's go to the turn 1 can. There we go. So it looks like we have a car that may have gone out and petered out. Look at how bright those lights are, Edwin. I mean, these things are awesomely bright. So here's how to tell the big dogs. The ES cars are all running yellow tinted lights of some sort. So we will see what's happening now. If we go to the front straight cam, we can probably see that they are dispatching rescue out there to, that's the, no, that's not a bunch of squatters in the infield there. That's our safety camp. So we're sending a couple cars out to go check, but we just opened the free practice, and already someone is stalled there in turn 1. So that's not too cool for your friends that are trying to get some practice in. So they'll have to come around. The safety trucks will hopefully work real quick and get everybody in. As we're looking around the track, there's turn 11 cam, got a little confused.
And it's a short qualifying session anyway. So while they're cleaning up stuff there in 1, let's go back down into the paddock area. And Neil has caught up with one of our E2 competitors. Neil, take it away, buddy.
We tracked down Randy Popst and DJ Quint with Team TAPG running their Toyota 86. I am so excited to hear what you guys brought this weekend.
Well, I'm really happy to be here thanks to DJ Quint and the Toyota engineers. And this car and this team is so prepared and so organized. The only thing that can mess it up is me. I love the NASA 25 Hours of Thunderhill. I've done it many times. I've won it several times with some great teams. And this car is good for this track because this track's got a lot of corners, and the 86 is a great handling machine.
I don't know what else I can add to that.
So I saw some really creative work last year. You guys doing 4 tires in the back paddock. You got anything up your sleeves this year like that?
Of course, man. We're always evolving, growing, trying to see where we can stretch things next. Yeah, we got some surprises. We're not gonna give it all away, but yeah, we're gonna do more of the same, and we're gonna add to it.
Well, we'll be walking around and covering these guys, seeing these surprises on our live stream. And you guys have all through the work season, you've been super successful, and you even ran a class higher than where you are now. And did you win that race too?
Yeah.
Woo!
These
So
guys have been winning everything, but this is a different deal. It's 25 hours long. It's going to be raining, I think, the whole time. We got Hoosier tires. I think that's going to be to our advantage.
I hope so.
And the guys are from Arizona. That's going to be our disadvantage. They've never seen rain. But they're sharp. They got it all figured out. You know, they got formula for that. They got a formula for everything. They're engineers.
We're prepared. The big difference for us this year is last year we were a rookie team with the 25. We've done a lot of endurance races, but like Randy said, 3 hours, 6 hours is a whole different thing, right? So this is 25. So we had a good plan, but we didn't make it all the way through. So this year we've got a whole team of experienced people that are not just doing this for the first time. So we're excited to leverage that experience and see what we can do.
Really excited to see that too. You guys got it kind of taken away from you last year by an engine that went bad. And
I went bad last year. I went down.
I remember that, man. Yeah.
But we got a Toyota. You could fill the gas tank of this thing full of Nutella, push it off the San Francisco Bridge, fish it out 1,000 years later, and it would fire right up.
You hear that, guys? Get on that.
That's exactly what he said last year.
Okay. Well, awesome. Watch what you eat. Watch what you put in that gas tank.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really excited to watch you guys run this race.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Neil. And again, we talk about the different cars, and you see they're still working in turn one. We mentioned earlier Ross Bentley, but there you know Randy Pope's here. How do you feel if you're one of the co-drivers on that team, a driver that's done it successfully here, done it successfully a whole lot of places in road racing? Again, and that's to me, John, one thing that makes it so much fun about this type of racing is you've got some teams that are put together with some friends, and they worked in Joe's garage and they put it together, and now they're out here and they're sharing a weekend and they're sharing a racetrack with that level of driver, that level of team. That's I can't think of another word other than just that's kind of cool.
Oh yeah, well, there's always a little bit of hero worship. I remember, speaking of Randy, I've been a huge fan of his for years. Now he's everywhere. If you're watching the Motor Trend channel, Randy's everywhere. He's racing at a racetrack somewhere around the country, but years and years ago, he ran do you remember when he and Michael Galati ran the Audis in World Challenge? Well, they came here for the 25, and I was standing and timing and scoring, and I followed those guys all the time, and then all of a sudden, Michael Galati's tapping me on the shoulder, and he's there with Randy to see if they can get a scoring sheet. It's like, oh, yes, very much.
Well, and, it's important as we do this to stay. There's a time you're a professional, you're down there doing your job, but there's nothing wrong with keeping some of that fan. Be a fan. Enjoy it. Well, we're here this weekend to do a job, but we also want to have fun with it. I remember one time I was in a paddock area at a road course, and Hurley Haywood comes walking to me. Just one of the legends. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that's Hurley Haywood. I'm like, oh, he's probably going to do some important media thing. And he walks by, he went back to the car because it was a endurance race, and his car insert for the seat wasn't. They sent him back. They said, Hurley, can you run back to the hauler and get your seat insert for us? But it was really cool. So yeah, when you can mix in the top level professional drivers and then those people who are the true amateurs who really are the backbone of the sport that builds it from the bottom up, that makes for a great weekend. John, is anybody going to get frustrated now? We're into this qualifying session. It's short anyway. We've got, still an incident in turn one there. Anybody frustrated? Does this jumble up the start any for tomorrow that makes a huge big deal, or there's 25 hours to sort it out?
So apparently what's happened, we got word from our control frequency earlier that apparently the car that went out there, something is locked up in the drivetrain. They can't do a flat tow. So what they're going to do, the qualifying session, actually we're still in free practice. So
good. Okay,
qualifying starts at 5:15. So I imagine what they'll do is they'll probably do a black flag haul of some sort to bring everybody in. And then they're going to try to lift that car and get it out of there because they're going to need to do a lift tow. I know that's either safety 1, I think, is blocking for safety 2. So we are trying to get that car cleared so we'll have complete green flag conditions for the qualifying session. But apparently whichever car that is, it looks almost like the 370Z. I'm not sure, but it looks like it is apparently the drivetrain's locked up and they can't flat tow it in. So something has locked up big time, but it looks like, do they have a strap on it?
Gonna try.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Okay, success. Way to go, NASA safety. Okay. So they apparently unlocked whatever was locked. They're probably going to pull that car into the infield using one of the mini cutoffs here. I don't know if they'll pull it all the way around to try and give those guys a shot to fix up their car. It's a bummer to break in practice. So looks like we have another interview lined up. Mr. Will Falls is down there with yet another factory team. Let's go down to Will and see who he is talking to now.
5 seconds. I'm here with Team Honda Research West and fellow Texan crew chief Andy Hollis. Actually, as we're starting this interview, we're just about to need this, right? It's just starting to rain. We're just before qualifying. Talk to us about what you guys are thinking now.
Right, so we've got a car out there circulating right now on rain tires. We were anticipating the rain, but just prior to setting this interview up, we were thinking, I think we may set the dries. So getting all set up for the dries, we thought we might have 15 minutes. But even as we started discussing this, it's starting to come down, a little bit bigger drops. You could probably still get away with a dry tire right now, but qualifying starts in about 15 minutes, and that's when it really counts. So we had our guy out there right now just sort of circulating, feeling the grip slowly going away. And we are definitely going to stick with the reins for qualifying itself. So excited to be here. Love the 25-hour. I've always heard from people. I've not yet experienced one in the cold and wet conditions. So in some ways I'm looking forward to this, but in a lot of ways I'm dreading what it's going to be like throughout the evening. But a lot of challenges. Love working with these guys. All volunteers from Honda. These are Honda employees that don't do this for a living. These are amateurs, yet you see the logistics, you see the way they're organized and all like that, and it's cool to be part of that effort. So super proud of the team with getting through. We've got one car that's still down for the count right now. We're having fuel issues with it, and hopefully we'll get that done and into the race for tomorrow. But at the moment, we're stringing everything on the number 18 car. So I got to get back to them, but thanks for talking.
Thanks so much, Andy.
All right, see
you guys. There you have it. Manny Hollis, Team Honda Research West. Getting ready for qualifying.
Thank you so much, Will. If you
Absolutely.
get a chance this weekend, if you're here, get down to the paddock, see that setup. I mean, that is a full-on factory push there. And unfortunately, you heard him say they've got one car that they're still working on. But from the resources they have down there, I'm sure you'll see both make the starting grid for tomorrow. You did correct earlier again, if I misspoke and didn't say that, this is that last practice session, so we still have the qualifying to come up, so we did not lose any qualifying time while they were working. There was another thing I wanted to ask you, John, about when you're out there, recovery teams are out there. Boy, that's a whole different animal at night as well.
Yeah, it's a little scary, but the crews that we have worked this race for so many years, and the drivers are really good about backing off and giving them room to work. And we also take a pretty conservative strategy where if it looks like drivers are getting a little bit too close, we'll just do a pace car. We'll send the Super out there, the GR Super, to go collect them all up and put them behind the pace car, and just basically slow everybody down and let the safety crew have a lot of time to work. But at the same time, the drivers are usually pretty good. We try to keep as much green flag as we can. But up here, man, I tell you, if we get the zombie fog, we've had snow, we've had sleet, we've had crazy winds, we've had below freezing conditions. Except for the rain this year, the temperatures aren't too bad. So my main worry is that fog.
We talked earlier and asked how serious, how important is qualifying. You heard in that last interview, for those guys, it's really important. They're out there, they're running this practice session right now to know what's that track condition, so when they go back out for qualifying, what are they going to do with tires? So it is important. There's a good shot. That shows you absolutely, that's what we're seeing from here. That's how dark, and then look at the car pop up over the corner there at turn 5. That is beautiful, but those are the conditions, and there behind the wheel you get an idea, and that's probably, and there's the flying lizard
That's in the lizard
machine.
car,
yeah,
in the R8.
That gives you a good idea of what the driver's view is. It's dark.
It's real dark. Real dark. So you can see there's a couple lights set up in different places, and the corner stations will have lights on them that will indicate yellow flag conditions and things like that. But it's super dark out there. You can see there inside the lizard car. It's pretty much full dark right now. That's what it'll look like at night, but it can get even darker out here, and you have to really work with your lights to make sure you can get all of the different markers that you're going to use. And remember, those markers, those aren't going to last. They're going to go away because someone will go off and turf them, and then there's no markers anymore, and you're just relying on kind of your muscle memory a little bit.
Endurance race like this, one of the just the neatest part is after you've gone through the long, dark night, that little bit of time just as the sun's coming up, that racing at dawn, and everybody then starts to push a little bit more. They're like, oh, finally, we've got some sunlight we can see, and that's really a magic time just as the sun starts to come up. And again, you see, now we said no lights. Again, you said a couple spots at sort of some of the corner stations, there's some lights. Otherwise, any information that the workers are trying to give them on track, they're going to have no idea. So you'll see a couple lights. You see there one on the right-hand side.
They will have colored lights.
Yep.
They
Just
will
so
have
they know what's
colored
going
lights.
on. Yep.
Yeah. So, whoa, you can see on that, it's starting to come down. So you can see the drop starting to come across the camera lens there. You can see the top of the hill there. That's 9, I believe, that we're looking at. So that's turn 11 right now where our camera is, and that's 9 up at the top. But we do have colored lights out there on the corner stations to indicate a full course yellow or a waving, urgent yellow in any single corner. But that's how they'll be communicating. But it is dark out here, and you can see, oh, look at the spray coming up. So the storm has arrived just in time for qualifying. So Andy Hollis was very wise to choose the rain tires there. Looks like he's made the call of the day, and we can see that the storm front has finally breached the mountain range there, and we are going to get absolutely soaked here during the qualifying session, which starts at 5:15 Pacific.
And we've got a couple lights here right on the front straightaway on the pit straight. Again, just at the area where the cars come off pit road. And
safety's out again.
And there we go. We're seeing some heavy rain come down in the lights there, and you're exactly right. There's a safety contingent out on course. They'll try to pick that up. And now that couldn't have come at a better time, right as we're getting ready to go to qualifying. All right, let's go. I think we've got another report down in the paddock area, so let's go down and check in with the guys in the paddock area as the rain begins to fall.
All right, everybody, I'm here in the hot pits, and cars are out circulating. It's starting to come down really hard and getting really wet out there. Cars are out circulating, just getting their cars warmed up, seeing the track, getting their qualifying driver able to see the conditions, adjust to the night as it is just about completely dark here. And one of our overall contenders, Valkyrie, in their 370Z Nismo GT, already having an issue. They came in on the tow strap behind a safety truck, and the crew is working quickly here. Looks like some sort of brake issue. We'll follow up with them once the work gets done and report back to you guys. But they seem very poised, very calm. They seem confident. It looks like they're going to get this car back out on track for qualifying. Christina Locke there giving orders to prep the car for the wet here. So looks like Valkyrie's going to stay in it. They look poised, look ready to go out for qualifying as soon as they fix something here on the right front. We'll follow up with you guys as soon as we figure out more. Back to you guys in the booth. Rain coming down.
Thank
25.
you so much, Will. And John, good eyes. That was that car that sat there
That
in
was the
turn
Z.
1 for the longest time, and you picked it out. You had the right number on it. Can't speculate what it might be, but I guess if I'm going to have a problem, I'd like to have it before the race starts, and I'd like to have it before qualifying begins.
Right. It looked like they were working on something on the right front brake, and the report that we got in from control was that the car wouldn't move. So I bet it was a brake caliper or something that got loose, a pad got loose, and all of a sudden the thing just locked up cold. But they managed to get it in. Hopefully whatever happened freed up. We got the view now. It's a little patchy there. We're dealing with some weather issues, messing with our signal. And, boy, this is a whole – oh, boy, look, it's coming down, Evan. Look at that. So that light right there is illuminating the track exit at turn 14 there that leads back onto the front straight. It is coming down, folks. It is nasty out there right now. So I think, a big win is to have a qualifying session where you don't go off and just get a time and then come in and quit, man.
John, you talked about we'll be able to identify some of the different classes by the color of those headlights. Let me ask, you can tell pretty much during the day, but in the nighttime, as I'm a faster car, I'm coming up on a car in front of me. Sometimes that also can be difficult.
Right.
What am I catching in the dark here? Is it somebody that I'm running pretty close to as far as lap times? Is it somebody that's a real disparity? You catch them. Seems like you catch them quicker in the nighttime, which means you've got to make a decision a lot quicker and look at now some of the rooster tails coming up. Yep.
So this is a key thing, and we're in car with the Lizards right now. Whoa, there we go. So it's slick. I mean, it is definitely, you can see fighting with the wheel right now. I mean, that car is as dialed in as you can get in the wet. I'm sure it has all the German magic in it with all of the different traction controls and other things going on. But, man, it is slippery out there. And you see another car going by. It looks like that's a Camaro, perhaps. That may be one of the stock cars that was out there earlier with kind of a stock car body with a Camaro body on it, but boy, it's slippery out there. So if you went out on non-rain tires, you're going to be hurting for certain.
Yeah, and here's the shot now. That is the shot. That's the brightest spot of the racetrack. That's coming right down the front straightaway here. You see the hot pits there to your right. There was start finish, just past our broadcast position. You do have a little bit of light there, mainly lighting up the pit area that gets onto the racetrack. And then as you dive into turn number 1, there is now, as they're into turn number 1, that's where it gets dark. And then later tonight, as the race goes on, now here you are kind of what I say over turn 3, kind of the far out area there. If you go off track, you're going to need to radio somebody to say, how do I get back? Where do I need to come back? Because it is out there and dark, and that gives you an idea. There's a great shot right there. That's turn 4 and 5. That's still in front of our broadcast position here before they climb the hill. So
that's turn 9, coming down
crazy.
9. You can see before they come down, it's pitch black. It's like you're out in the middle of nowhere bouncing around with the bears.
You talked about how that, in broad daylight, that's a blind hill anyway as you come over it. So now you don't have to worry about it because it's dark. You couldn't see it anyway. But it is that's a spot we'll watch all weekend long. So a little bit more on track. They'll come back out to qualify in a little bit. And like you said, I think everybody right now would like a
time.
Yeah, bank a time and come in and get ready to go tomorrow.
Right, because right now, I mean, it's dark, it's moist out, it's hazardous. So, I mean, as a crew chief, I would just say, hey, man, go out, get me a good, safe lap. If you have a driver who's unfamiliar with the car, this is where they're going to see what they're going to be dealing with tomorrow evening. So that might be good. Just notch a lap. I mean, we're seeing lap times now in the 2:30. Way like almost a whole minute slower than the fastest cars would go if it was dry out. So this is just survival mode right now.
There's a shot back down on the front straightaway, or excuse me, on the back straightaway, where they come on the back side of the paddock. And I'll tell you what, probably as far as being able to see stuff in the paddock here is great because you look one side, you've got them down the front straightaway and simply turn there on that back straightaway. The way the paddock is integrated into the circuit here is fantastic. There's another in-car camera coming up.
Here we are. Now we're with the Shift Up Now team, the HQ Autosport. That's a BMW 128i. Boy, one of the big fast prototypes just went by, flying, and you can see those rain lights flashing. I don't know if that should be flashing or not, but look at how hard it is to see and hold that line. They're coming down through 14. Whoa, a little bit of a wag there. So it is definitely tricky and slippery out. We have pretty good drainage here, but it's still going to be slippery because of all the junk that's been put down on the track. So it is very challenging conditions here as we're about 5 minutes out from the qualifying session for the 25 Hours of Thunderhill, presented by Hawk Performance.
Because of track conditions, you'll actually see some of the slowest, fastest laps we've seen so far. Again, right now on track, nobody breaking under the 2-minute mark right now. We saw laps earlier today and yesterday in the 140s, I believe.
Look at how hard. Look at how hard this is to work around here. You're seeing. So the key right now, and there goes one of the prototypes ripping by. So the key right now is to pretend like you have an egg on the throttle, an egg on the brake pedal, and just be as smooth as you can. But boy, it is slippery out there. There's a lot of spray coming up. So right now it's just bring it home with some sort of lap time, I think would be my strategy. And don't wad the car up, because the other problem is when it rains like this and it gets soaked, what happens to that mud in the infield? It gets really, kind of grippy, and you can really end up flipping the car or something like that. So if you go off straight.
Everybody's looking at the same forecast we are. The other thing they're doing right now, they know that for the bulk of this race, it's probably going to be in conditions just like this. So let's be sure we get the car where it's good to run in the rain, because that's what we're going to deal with for most of the weekend. So a few more minutes left in this session. They're going to go back in the pit area. They'll go to the paddock, make whatever changes. We come back, and it'll be our first laps that count.
I believe, and so that's kind of cool in the 28 car. They've got a screen there that's telling you who's in the car right now. I think that's Sarah Montgomery. She has a lot of experience. She's with the Shift Up Now movement, and she has a lot of time, as I recall, in the MX-5 series, the Pro series that they have. So great driver. You can see how smooth she's trying to be there, and just really trying to get the car around without upsetting it and giving it any excuse to break loose. You really want to stay. You see those painted curbs? Those things are like absolute frozen goat snot when it's wet.
That's a technical term.
Technical term, goat snot.
You said, you're being easy now in the rain, on the gas, on the steering, and you have to do that also not only when you're driving and everything's fine, but when you go to recover from a mistake. Those motions for the recovery need to be slowed down as well.
Well, and you can't do anything fast because you're going to upset the car. As we heard earlier, this car still has its factory HVAC in there to help with the fog issue, but that can get really scary as well. So these are absolutely, this year is going to be a challenge for every single driver. They're going to be wore out. They're going to be like jello when we get to Sunday afternoon because they're all going to be beat trying to fight these conditions. You know, occasionally when it's dry out, you can cruise a little bit. Down the front straight, down the back straight, you kind of, okay, I'm going to relax for a little bit. Not here. It's like basically you have a sack full of rattlesnakes that's trying to get out in the car with you.
And it's then the mindset that you have. We heard Ross Bentley say earlier, we're going to go out there and have fun in the rain. That helps if that's your mindset. If you're worried about it.
It's true.
That's going to be, if you're just like, we're about to have fun in the rain, now you've set a whole different thought process, not only for Ross, but everybody else driving on that team.
Right.
Is the rain a problem? No. We're going to go have some fun. That makes a difference.
Yeah, the art of racing in the rain, right? So, it is challenging, but, that's a very important point, Edwin. It's a mindset. If you go out there and your anatomy's already a little tightened up from being all, oh my God, I can't do this, oh my gosh, you're probably going to make a mistake. So to be cool and calm, just like what Ross, what he was preaching there, there's a reason that guy is one of the best driving coaches in the business. Because get that in your head, and you're just like, hey man, walk in a park. This is just like driving to work on a rainy Monday.
And he was saying that as much for us to hear as for the other guy on his team who said, he'd been competitively driving for a year. He was saying that for him to hear as well.
It's true. It's true. Kind of, Mr. Miyagi there. Wax on, wax off. Everything's cool. It's just a little wetter. But look at this coming down. So it's pouring outside, folks. It is really nasty. We've got the atmospheric. Oh, look at, you can even see it's starting to pond a little bit there. So qualifying session is going to begin, I think, in about 10 seconds from now. So if you're out there, keep out there and just keep doing what you're doing. Looks like that in-car, I'm so impressed with how Sarah's driving there. She's really doing a good, consistent job. Well, but you can see the rear end got a little bit loose there, but, nice correction, but not an overcorrection. Watch how she moves the shifter, and all of the control movements have to be super smooth. You're not grabbing the shifter and pulling it as hard as you can because all of that's going to upset the car. So she's being super smooth, really smooth, and that's going to pay a big dividend for her.
We talked about some teams will race to a time in the dry. They'll race to a time in the wet as well, but that will change. All right, guys, here's the track condition. You know what? Right now, if we're banking 210s, let's bank 210s, and we're going to be fine with it.
Right.
We're in the dry condition, you're banking 210s, you're going to be losing a lap every couple of laps.
Right. Well, and
racing to a dial, drag race will cost you dial in,
Right, your dial in.
To that dial in, it's going to change a whole lot in the rain.
Right. And the thing is, you just want to bring the car home, get a decent starting position for tomorrow. Because tomorrow's going to be wet too, so you're not going to win the race in the first corner tomorrow, but you can certainly lose it. So it might even be wise to just completely bag qualifying, because it's a 25-hour race, and just stay in. And just let everybody go out and start at the back tomorrow. Again, this is something that the strategist for the team is going to have to figure out with the drivers. And there's lots of opinions on that one. But that I might play it safe because this place is, you can see, look at that spray, and you're having to deal with that. And just all of the things that are getting thrown at the wall. Look at this. Wow, Sarah is hanging in there, driving an absolutely wonderful pace there. I've seen her passing a bunch of other cars, so that's impressive because it is soggy out. It is getting a little bit ugly, and she's doing a great job.
It can be so frustrating also, the cars that are the high horsepower cars, this gives them, this does more as a disadvantage to them than anybody else, especially some of the heavy, we saw a couple of stock cars out there.
Yep.
A lot of horsepower, a lot of weight, and now they can use
none of it.
None of it. And
it's worthless.
They're not only penalized in the rain coming off the corner, they've got to wait to get, but now where does that braking point change? They're heavier, so now getting on the gas is so much later.
and the thing is, we heard the Fun Toys team talking about the traction control. That is going to be a huge advantage. I bet that the Shift Up Now, the HQ car, I bet it still has its factory traction control in there. Why? Sometimes when you're a shoe and you're on the street, it's annoying. It's like, leave the nannies alone. Right now, I want every nanny you can give me to try and make me a little bit of a smoother driver, and also use all those electronic wizards to try and save me if something goes wrong.
And John, it also then allows you to start flirting with how much earlier you can get on the power. So it gives you that little cushion of I can start to play a little bit, because I know I've got that, I don't want to call it a safety net, but for lack of a better term, I've got a little bit of a safety net. Let that traction control help me figure out where I can go.
Okay, looks like we have another interview spooled up, so we're going to head back down to the paddock to get a little more information on what's going on. Let's go back down.
As you can see, it's coming down pretty good. Raining the hardest I've ever seen it rain here, but you can see it's raining hard enough that it's steady. We'll see some cars come through here, and you'll actually see the water streams, tails coming off of the car, and it's coming down good. We've officially started qualifying. Cars are out there qualifying for their starting position tomorrow, and it's really wet out there. Here we see another car coming out. You can see some of the raindrops. If you look at some of these setups, some folks take it very, very, very seriously to keep themselves comfortable, as they should. You can see this deck platform here with tents and sides on it. It's to keep the crews dry and level with the wall, so it's easy for them to get over. There's a ton of really cool, really well-built pit spaces down here, but we are qualifying. We are live. It is raining. It's wet.
Radio check.
You guys in the booth. We'll check in soon.
So much, Will. Great coverage down there, and that gives you an idea of how hard it's raining. You start to see it get wet. There's Sarah working out there, and we're starting to get some laps. And John, this one surprised me a little. Somebody does go a sub 2-minute lap. The 52 JFC Racing 159.407.
Engine start, pit lane's clear.
That is getting over that sub number.
Fire it up. Start the car.
That's the JFC car. That is it's a Lola of all things, with that super cool JFC V8, which is basically a custom block using some Hayabusa parts, and it is an amazing car. So not a surprise they're going super fast, but I think anything under 2 minutes is pretty impressive.
Headlights on.
In this kind of conditions. I mean, it is just really ugly out. So it looks like we are starting to get some times. E0 so far. Dragonfly has the best time with a 2:35. The Bullet guys, they're at 2:25, and E1 on top. Our friends from the Toyota Proving Grounds, TAPG Motorsports, in their 86, they're 2:23, top of E2. E3S, Lasher Motorsports, with a 2:38.514. ES is being led right now by Clean Blast David's Racing Products. That's one of the stock cars, I believe. The 2:15.841 again. JFC with the best time so far overall, and leading ESR with a 1:59.406. GT Challenge best time there. Precision Driving Tech Hive 10 Racing with a 2:18.469.
We'll see how many laps. How long does JFC? How long do they stay out there? They bank a good lap. Do they say, okay, we've got it. There's our wet setup. Thank you. Start the barbecue. We're done for the day.
Well, their closest competitor to him is the Turn 3 Motorsports crew. They're at a 2:03 as their best time. So that's a pretty significant difference. But again, these are all of our classes out there racing in the dark. We are at the NASA 25 Hours of Thunderhill, presented by our good friends from Hawk Performance. They have everything you need for brakes.
Hey, you mentioned the second quick there. Is that that's a 2016 Radical. So those ESR, you've got different makes there, different cars. But again, the classing is done so well that we'll see close races in several classes. You will get hung up occasionally on what's topping overall. But what we're really going to try hard to do also, John, is, if something overall is a runaway, dig around through those classes and say, hey, we found the best race here for you, and this might be, who cares what it is overall, but in class it might be a winnable battle, and you're going to have a couple of those. You're going to come down to 15 minutes to go in the race, and you're going to have a couple of those cars still running on the same lap, battling for it. We're going to be kind of going over our time and scoring all weekend long. We're going to look for those stories to share with you.
You can see in E1 now the FLIR Vision guys that we talked to earlier, they are the head of the class in E1 with a 225.002. Things are starting to shake out. Again, we are qualifying from 5:15 to 5:45 Pacific. We're at Thunderhill Raceway Park. We are approximately 80-90 miles north of Sacramento, California, in Glenn County, right off Interstate 5.
The number 48, the One Motorsports Radical, they didn't quite get into the
Ooh, they got
close,
close, though.
Yeah, 2:121. So they go second quick overall, and of course second quick in the category. So they're putting some pressure now on the JFC racing team. So a 159.4 to a 2 flat 0.12. So good battle there for overall and in class.
Well, and with all of this wet weather, we are going to have a very interesting starting grid because you may have a Miata in front of the R8.
Right.
Because right now the power is completely useless. The things you want to have are good handling, good, boy, ABS is your friend and traction control is your friend if you're blessed enough to have that. But boy, it is coming down. You can see it is just pouring here, and we're going to have this river going all night. Right now, 20 to 30 mile an hour steady winds tonight with 55 to 60 mile an hour gusts predicted. Hopefully that will pass by tomorrow, but that wind warning is up until 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, to about 3 hours after our start. Our coverage tomorrow, of course, will begin around 10 o'clock Pacific, and then we'll be with you all 25 hours of the race, bringing you all kinds of stories from the pits with Will Falls and Neil Daly. We're up here in the booth just trying to stay dry. So once again, looks like we have about, about 20 minutes left. Scheduled to end at 5:45.
Wait and see if the 48 picked up another lap here. We'll try to
check out E0. So the Honda Racing, that's the Civic Type R. You know, we're nearly stocked the first time they bring it out. So that's a bunch of Honda engineers in that car, just like the Toyota engineers in the 86 there. So racing your own brand, that's super cool that they have the resources and time to do that. But they are out in front right now in E0. Wow, and they're killing it. So they've got a 2:17, and Dragonfly's best was a 2:27, 10 seconds behind. So Honda Racing, I think that's the 18 car. They said the 17 was down with some problems. They may pull that car in pretty quick because they've got a pretty dominant position there in E0.
That 159.4 still quickest overall, and it's even though there's a bunch of cars on track right now, it's still raining too hard for them to come up with create any type of a dry line. It's not like they're going to get quicker because it's still on the front straightaway, at least here. In fact, I see it bouncing off the lights here, and then the lights and the spray gets a little bit higher. So there's not enough circulating around the track to even attempt to start cutting in a dry line anywhere.
No. There will be let's say a moist line and then a really, really nasty, slick line. So it is, and once it starts getting, the water washing off the hills, you're going to get a little bit of dirt in the mix. But they do have really good drainage here. So hey, guess what? Neil Daly has another interview lined up. We're going to go down to Neil in the pits. Neil, who are you talking to now?
5 seconds. And I'm back with the Team Technic running a kind of spec-ish, right? Technic competition?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. A spec-ish E46 in E2. One of those. E2 is just going to be a super exciting field, a bunch of diverse cars that all have their ups and downs. And tell me about some of the road getting here and the preparation you guys have taken.
We had a really great year. Sean and I and Matt did something like 1,200 miles of testing on the car. We kind of normally want to run work, and we really said this was our year to do everything, get everything right. So we focused primarily on testing. And then sometime in like November, we realized that everything that we were working for went out the window. So the tires we were using aren't available. The rain is coming, so now we have to go to intermediate. So basically, we spent all year long having fun with our friends because we can't use any of it. And but you know what? I think we've done a really good job. We had some last minute help with Hankook, and they came in and they shipped tires to us from Holland because they weren't available. So they actually drop ship from Holland to come here. So we were really happy with the support we got from them last minute. We've really hustled up on a day of testing. So was it Thursday? Wednesday? Thursday we did testing, and we ran the car the entire day. And we got everything kind of really dialed in, and we got a lot of mixed conditions. And so, you know, we feel really confident in our crew that we were able to kind of get everything we needed in every condition, right? And I think it's a testament to my partners. Matt Keogh's somewhere around here right now. There she is.
Get over here,
Matt, get over here. You know, these guys have really gotten behind Technic and made a lot of this stuff happen. I'll hand it off to you what they thought happened, but from a crew perspective, we worked really hard all year long to get no data.
And really quick, just so you guys know what car we're talking about. This was the orange and blue E46 from last year, right?
Orange,
black, and red.
Orange, black, and red.
Now,
you guys came back with a really cool wrap job this year.
Yeah, you know that. I'll let Matt talk about that. He kind of headed that. We're not even allowed to put stickers on the car, so.
No. I mean, we wanted something to make a big, bold statement, and we brought a Bauhaus-inspired design for the centennial of Bauhaus, German Motorsports. We thought there was a good connection there, so.
It was fun.
It was great.
It was super fun.
You guys have, everybody has large teams, but you guys have, I think, the same guys come back every year, and you have a really cool team aspect to what you're doing. And if anything, I think that's one of your main advantages is just how tight you guys are when it comes to that, how you work under pressure.
Yeah. We have 4 sets of parents here. My dad's here for the 3rd year. He cooks for us. Matt Million's parents are here. Scott Walther's dad's here. It's a family thing, but the friends and the crew that really make us keep coming back. I know that, let alone the competition, but just these guys and you, of course.
You know what?
You.
He won't say it, and I will. I mean, honestly, you know, I like to think that I kind of come up with the ideas for the team, but as far as everyone sticking together, that's all Sean. Everything about it. He's the mayor, and he keeps everyone happy. He feeds us charcuterie, and he makes sure that we get.
Makes everything rad.
Yeah, I have like some chocolate yogurt raisin thing in my RV to make sure it's right in the morning. So, you know, for me, look at this guy just walking in front of the camera. It's like muzzle sweep, right? But no, that's you know what, Sean is the thing that keeps. We keep about 20% of the new people every year, so we just keep growing. It's really, he won't say it, but it's all because of what he does. So that's all him.
Oh, thank you guys. It's you guys too. You know, without me, there's
Here we go. Self-deprecating.
How are you doing?
Yeah. I'm doing great. I actually
we got Justin on the hill for you to interview again.
Oh my gosh! So
and he's got a broken.
Last year, I went up and checked up with the spotters a couple times during the race because I think the spotting position is one of the most fun things, and you guys have the most fun spotter to interview.
Smartest too. I would argue he's the smartest.
And yeah, I heard it on your podcast the other day that about a week ago he broke his back.
That's right. Yeah.
Base jumping, and he's up there in a heated and air-conditioned swivel chair.
That's right. So the backstory of it is that every year, you know, you try to reserve about 105% of people, and then people drop out, right? And this year, a team of tire changers that were coming live in Truckee, and Truckee's getting like, and I'm not joking, this number's like 4 or 5 feet of snow. Right, and so they were like, it's not that, it's just we can't get home. So, right, so we almost lost 2 tire changers, and then almost immediately after that, I got a call from Justin. He goes, don't freak out, but I broke my back. And he basically fell, his parachute opened on a 210-foot drop, and it opened backwards, and he was headed toward a cliff. So he fell 200 feet, and a friend of his made a brace, and Sean got him a chair and a little. It's a shit toe, and so I don't know if you can say that, but we did. And yeah, he was like, I'm in. And so they drove up, and he's up there now.
I know you just broke your back, but can you sit on the top of this hill in the dark while it's raining for like 2 days?
We have a generator up there, and we have like a thing, we have Advil, we got anything he needs. We have doctors on our team. Like, we'll send him we just need you. So yeah, it was great.
We will be for sure checking in with Justin a couple times through the weekend and the other spotters. I'm interested to see what kind of new structures they've built, and I'll let you guys get back to doing your pit thing. I heard your window has been fogging up.
Awesome to see you, brother.
Hey, you too.
Make sure you get some time and some rest for you. Thank you, man.
Thanks, Neil.
Yeah,
thank you.
Good to see you, man.
That group is not having any fun at all. Here they are in the rain and just having a ball down there on pit road, and that's so good. Like I say, getting Neil down there, getting that piece behind what's going on is so important.
It really is, and that's a fun team. So Peter Hopeland, who was down there talking, he has an excellent podcast. If you guys are not following this podcast, you should be. It's called the Technic Podcast. You can find it on a bunch of different platforms. But Peter loves this race. He loves racing. He loves enduros, and he's really entertaining to listen to. It has all kinds of cool guests, including me from time to time, which is not so cool, but listen anyway. So that's Peter's team. He'll probably be up to talk to us. Super knowledgeable, lots of information. Right now, look at this. We're inside the GTR, the Valkyrie GTR, and look at it's just eating the other cars up, but he's trying to be careful coming down that back straight right now. That's the bridge right there. Look at all that spray, and check it out. They even have a defroster grid on the windshield. That's pretty darn cool. So they are flying right now, and I think they are, and actually the 370, I believe, came back from disaster, and the 370 is fast guy right now in the ES class. And the Valkyrie, the GTR, is coming up. But, wow, so the 370 went from being busted to being the top qualifier right now in ES. About 10 minutes left in the session. There they are. Check it out. They've even got, like, the Le Mans style, the rear view camera. It's not like the full-on FLIR one with all the crazy stuff, but they'll be able to see what's going on behind them. But the way they're running right now, I don't think they have to worry too much about that.
John, I tell you, we got a great story in E3S right now, the 15 Lesher Motorsports.
Oh, my gosh. Look at that.
That's a 2003 Mazda Miata. Listen to your top three. 238.51, 238.52, and then a 241.6. That's your top three in E3S. That's really, really tight. They set all those laps early. But again, 38.5, 38.5, and a 41.6.
Jeez.
That's shaping up for some nice stuff. Hey,
E3S looks nice.
Yeah. Hey, here's a shocker. We've got a group of Miatas that are all running identical times.
That never happens.
Never happens. Never happens.
Right, so folks, you can see it is ugly out here. That is proper Northern California gully washer that's coming through. We're drowning frogs left and right out here at Thunderhill Raceway Park, but hey, to the credit of the track, you can see right now is that shot. You can't see a bunch of pooled water, so the drainage is doing its job. But, man, we are supposed to get an absolute ton of rain, a metric poop ton, let's say. I won't use the more graphic term, but we have a lot of rain coming down right now, and it's going to be that way all the way, possibly through the start. Again, tomorrow we will come back live at 10 o'clock Pacific, and then we'll be live all through the 25 hours of Thunderhill, presented by our good friends at Hawk Performance.
Let's dig a little deeper into that E3S. Again, we said it's the Lesher Motorsports Mazda, car number 15. That team out of Salinas, California, Ryan Lesher, the crew chief and owner. Chill Out Systems, a sponsor on that, and a couple drivers sharing the duties on that. Ben Sloss, Mark Hamilton Peters. They said just call him MHP for the weekend.
Right. He's a noted driver.
Yep. And Rob and Kyle. So those guys, again, just a couple tenths of a second, just a couple 100ths of a second there. So that'll be great. We'll keep an eye on that when we go racing tomorrow. But that's a good story early in qualifying.
So in that Lesher Motorsports team right now, they're fair. Yeah, you were talking about them. They're fairly local. Salinas, down by right down by Monterey, of course. Lots of things happening in Monterey now in our world of our small motorsport world here. So lots of things happening there at our favorite track, WeatherTech Raceway at Laguna Seca. So we hope things there will turn out well. I love that track. That's a great place to go for Car Week or any other time you can get down there. Absolutely beautiful. So we do have a question here on the live stream. What's the difference between E3 and E3S? E3 is basically certain cars are put into that group, but E3S is only for cars prepared to spec Miata, spec E30, and I believe 944 spec fits in there also in E3S. So that's the difference. It's more tightly controlled rules than the E3 class. E3, you can run more things. You're usually in Super Touring. I want to say 4, 5, and 6 are in E3. So if you go to NASA Pro Racing, you can see how all the different class rules are set up. If you go to the 25-hour site, which you obviously are because you found us here, look at the rules, and that will give you a better idea of how cars are shunted into different classes here. But that E3S is something brand new for this year that we're trying. So it looks like we have another interview. We're going to go down to talk to Neil Daly again. He's down with another team. Neil, what you got and who you got?
Can't hear him. Are we live? I'm here with Justin Ross with Team Morewood Creative. Tracked him down in his trailer. You guys have some strategy going on in your qualify here, I think.
Yeah, we actually left the guy right before qualifying started, put him back in the car, put Hoosiers back on the thing, sent him out. Now we're watching. Our rivals just put Randy Popst in the car, a pro guy. So we're kind of watching where we're stacking up at the moment.
And that was the Toyota team we just interviewed about 25 minutes ago.
Yep, exactly. It's they're in our team. It's going to be a very hard-fought race between us, Technic next to us. There's a bunch of great teams in E2 this year. It's going to make it difficult.
And you guys drive a very, I'd say, like maxed out for your class. E46 with lots of aero, like it looks like a race car.
Yeah, exactly. We spent this year maximizing to the ST5 rules with the new rule set changes. We're not 100% yet. We feel like we're 90, 89%, somewhere in that area. We already have things going for next year to be even crazier than what we are now. So,
I love it. Yeah, you're definitely one of the front runners to watch in the ST5 class or in the E2 class.
Yep.
And you had a little bit of trouble prepping the car for this event. Is that what I heard on the podcast?
Yeah, we usually have a great cycle we've done for the last 2 years. Usually we practice about a month before here, make sure the car's fine, completely tear it apart, completely put in new parts, and come back here. Unfortunately, the car didn't go fine a month ago, so we had to do our last test 2 weeks ago, a month worth of work in 2 weeks. Woo. So basically a complete car rebuild in 2 weeks. So we're here, having fun.
Well, good job getting it together. Tell me about some of the stuff you guys do behind the scenes here. You're going to be here, I imagine, all race long.
Yeah, so DJ and I will be down here at the table. We have a great live streaming system from Autosports Labs. Yes. They are helping us out with an awesome live stream feature. We get all the CAN bus stuff from the car, and we can do a really good, DJ here, our data guy, has done really good codes, so we can predict our average fuel burn per lap, how many minutes until we pit, how many laps until we pit. So that helps really change, like in the wet, where we don't have a lot of experience with. We can really start to see how long we can actually go in the wet and really start timing out our pit stops. As you can see, our board's empty, and we will be slowly filling that in this year as we try to figure out what to do in the rain.
Wow, man, that's some next level stuff. Our team is going to wait until it stutters and then come in.
Yeah, that's most teams. So we try to be just a little bit more sophisticated, just a little.
I like it. That's super fancy, man. Good job. That all, you guys are champions from last year, right?
Yep, we won E1 last year because of some rules restructuring. E2 is the old E1. So we're racing a lot of the cars we raced last year.
Awesome. I can't wait to see it again.
Yeah.
And it makes sense why you guys are at the top of your class. This is a really, really cool effort.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Neil. And they are still on top, again, in E2 qualifying. The Morewood Creative Team, car number 72, their fast lap, 221.4. And then second quick in class right now is a 225.06. But you heard the guys down there at Morewood say, hey, they're getting ready to make a driver change at one of our competitors. They're putting Randy Popst in the car.
Right.
Let's see if they can take a shot at that quick
The unfair advantage, otherwise known as Randy Post. But look at this. So right now, TAPG's best time is a 225.066, where Morewood is at a 221.418. Of course, this is an E2. I think that's regularly an ST5 car because ST4, ST5, because ST6 is the lone cowboy in E3. Again, these ST refers to NASA's super touring classes that are mostly power to weight ratio based with certain modifications factored in. So we kind of tried to align everything with our regular NASA sprint racing classes. I've been the chief scrutineer here before and tried to tech cars to a bunch of different rules. It's very tough. So this kind of simplifies things a little bit. We are on board now. I think that's the Lizards in that super duper Audi. They are doing pretty well. Let's see where they're at right now. So I think they're in GT Challenge. They're 2 seconds off the BMW M4 right there, or the GT4 BMW of Precision Driving Tech Hive 10 Racing. So they are moving right along. Their best so far is a 216.013. Again, that 159.406 of JFC is still the class of the entire event so far, top qualifier, with One Motorsports just behind them at a 2-minute 121, and then the next guys are 2-minute 411 turn 3. So all of them very fast, trying to get on that front and that pointy end of the grid for the start tomorrow so they can run away and get some clear tracks so they're not having to deal with eating a whole lot of spray.
And we wondered, would the track get any quicker? No, it's not. Everybody's quick lap with one or two exceptions, happen in their first 1 to 4 laps. You see,
Right.
everybody's quick lap was early in the session when the rain first started coming. In fact, overall leader, that 1:59, the only sub 2-minute lap,
Right.
happened on his first flying lap qualifying. So it's going to be tough to see anybody pick up anything. Like you said, we will watch and see if that Moorwood team loses that spot. They were a little concerned there, but across the board, everybody that's done a quick lap was early. And right now, the 72 Moorwood Creative in E2, they're still hanging on to that top
But
spot.
TAPG, their best time so far. So Moorwood's best time is a 2:21.418. TAPG, the fellows from the Toyota Proving Ground, with Randy Pope's behind the wheel right now, 2:23.431. Again, all this information, folks, is at racehero.io. If you want to follow along and see the same screens that we're using, so you can see how these battles are starting to shake out. Only about a minute left, I think. We're scheduled to stop at 5:45. So we are getting close to the end of this qualifying session for the NASA 25 Hours of Thunderhill, presented by our good friends at Hawk Performance.
Just giving us a little taste of what it'll look like when we go green flag racing. The more conditions that started. Gosh, right there. Where is that? That's turn 15.
That's ugly.
And you're starting to see a little bit of standing water there in turn 15. And that's that final corner before they come back around and race down this front straightaway to the finish. That will be, and there's if you look at the forecast, there's no chance really that is better tomorrow when we go racing.
No. I'm not sure. I mean, as I've said many times, and this was told to me by an old mountain guide up in the Sierra, hey, boy, only fools and tourists predict the weather around here. This is going to be a wild storm. So, but we do have that mountain range off to the east of us, or to the west of us, so that may temper things a little bit. But right now, we're just running right up the 5, the Interstate 5. That's where the storm front is running along, and we are getting soaked.
Just, to show you what an expert I am, I said, there's the Flying Lizard car in there, that car shot. Said everybody did their fast lap early. Nope, they just put down their fast lap of the session.
Whoops.
And then now they've just gone to the top. So their last lap they just ran, to lap 10, they go 2:13.783.
Just what they needed.
Moves them to the top now of the GT Challenge. So they kind of broke the mold of everybody else, so they're fine.
Yeah.
There's the shot from inside the car. They just went fast in that class.
So park it.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
No, seriously, because I don't think the BMW is out there right now. So if it was me, you just clicked off the fast one, you nicked them by 2/10 right there, park it.
So what did they find? They just get a nice clean lap there in that session and banked a good one. So
you can see right now, watch this coming over turn 5. Let's see when it unloads. Do we get a busy wheel? No, man. Smooth as churned butter. Whoa, a little bit of a bob there, but you can see smooth as fast.
He's got one more flyer here. Let's see as he comes around if he returns back down pit road. But again, they go 2:13, and you said that gives them
just shaved it.
Just a tiny, what, 2/10 of
awesome.
Right at 2/10 of a second between first and second. That is GT Challenge, and you're taking a ride through the dark right there with the Flying Lizard Motorsports Audi.
Strong team for sure. Looks like E0, the Honda boys, are still out in front with a 2:15.661. Dragonfly's 10 seconds back, so Honda Racing has E0 all sewed up. I'm willing to make that call. Looks like Fleer Vision, that super cool little car we saw earlier, they're on top of E1 with a 2:23. Bullet is just behind them with a 2:25, but everything's starting to kind of solidify and shake out, and I think we actually are done with our qualifying session. So these are the last couple of laps we will see. So if you can go to racehero.io, of course, the qualifying order is subject to whether anyone did anything naughty and has to have a meeting with the ministers upstairs. And if they do, they may lose their qualifying position if they've done something particularly awful. Hopefully everybody was well behaved during those yellows. Woo, big bobble there. So I think this will be the final lap. We'll see if we can see a checker. I can't see anything. So, yep, there's a checker. You can see it flying.
Hey, guess what he did?
Faster?
Fastest on his final lap. He goes 2:11.426. So you just
Good
run around
Lord.
with the fastest lap in GT Challenge. They've got to feel good about their wet weather setup here because lap 11, they go fastest to sit on top of GT Challenge.
Wow.
Again, 2:11.426. in that flying lizard machine. They got to feel good.
You don't mess with the lizards, man. That is an absolutely awesome performance. So, folks, that was the first little taste here of the NASA 2019, the 17th running of the 25 Hours of Thunderhill, presented by Hawk Performance. My name is John Lindsay. I've had my good friend Edwin Pardue as my wingman with Will Falls and Neil Daly down there. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 o'clock Pacific. We'll open our coverage right here, so please follow along. You can also look on the YouTubes and the Facebooks, and you'll be able to see where a lot of teams have live streams going. So search those out, and you'll be able to find a ton of different streams, and as well as our broadcast here. So we're going to close it out for tonight, folks. We're going to get some rest and try and stay out of this big weather, but that's going to be the story for tomorrow. So thanks for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock Pacific here at the NASA 25 Hours of Thunderhill, presented by Hawk Performance. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, copy. Call pit in for me, and then just bring it straight back to the truck.